and welcome to the Pathway Perspective Education Podcast.
We're back and with mugs.
We have mugs this time, and in this episode we're going to be thinking about whether there's a right pathway or if it's just the right pathway for you, especially with National Careers Week and National Apprenticeship Week coming up.
So choosing the right route after school can feel quite overwhelming, but today we really want to emphasise that there's no right route. It's about what is right for you at the time.
Yeah, and we think there can be a lot of pressure to know exactly what you want to be doing when you're 18, and when in reality a lot of the time that might not go to plan, and sometimes it's really helpful to hear about other people's perspectives and their journeys to get a bit of insight into what they chose. And I think we were thinking about kind of what our journeys were like when we were 18, and I think I wanted to be a dance teacher. And I wanted to do whatever. And it was just automatically that I was going to go to uni actually with my friends because there wasn't really any other option. And now was a teacher for 9 years, worked in sales for a bit, and now I do this. So it hasn't, that wiggly line that everybody does. Squiggly career. Still useful experience. All that experience I gained has brought me to this role. But yours was also, I guess, a little bit squiggly.
A little bit different. Yeah, for me, I've always been passionate about dance. So I knew that I wanted to follow that after A-levels. So I trained, worked professionally in musical theatre, but then did a little bit of cabin crew, travelled, and then, here I am at Pathway. So I think, as you said, it's those transferable skills which you can bring into each role.
Yeah, and I think obviously careers in education is so important, but also the reality is sometimes it's not always going to go to plan. So actually we're joined by one of a very special guest today who we get to work with every single day. So we're very excited, and she's going to come on and she's going to share her journey and why she's doing what she's doing at the moment.
So welcome, Ramatulai. Thank you for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you went to school.
Okay, so I'm currently 19, turning 20 in October. Went to school at Harris Girls East Dulwich for secondary school, and then transferred over to the boys' side and the girls' side for sixth form.
Amazing. So today as part of the podcast, we're thinking about, is there a right pathway or is it the right pathway for you? So we sort of shared our journeys, I guess. And one of the questions we had was, when you were going into year 13, what plans did you have as you went in?
If I'm being so honest, I was very behind compared to a lot of the people in my year. A lot of them had already known what they wanted in terms of apprenticeships, or just even the next step, whether that was university. Everybody had their applications for university. It was I'm going to this uni, I'm going to that uni. And then others had already started applying for apprenticeships. And I was fairly new to the game. So I kind of had to learn it from nothing. But I always knew that I wanted to go into real estate. From a young age, I always knew real estate was where I kind of wanted to go. But I just never knew it was possible in the UK, because that is such an American thing. And then obviously started going to events in companies I was interested in. Had some events with Pathway, but also other companies as well. And my teacher was actually very helpful because he provided us with work experiences that were going on, but then also anything that would help get an apprenticeship, if that makes sense.
And you're currently taking a gap year.
Yeah.
So what was that thought process from finishing your A-levels to thinking, okay, I'm going to choose to do a gap year?
Reality is I didn't want to. At first, I thought it was a bad thing. I was scared of gap years. That's generally how I saw it. I was I'm going to be behind while everybody else is kind of ahead. For me, it was very much I compared myself to everybody else and wanted to make sure that I wasn't necessarily 10 steps back while they're all 10 steps forward. So at first I was I need to get an apprenticeship. But obviously rejection after rejection, because I simply didn't do enough research. Yeah.
That is key.
That is very, very key. They're not joking. But yeah, then after a while, I kind of just started taking it a bit more seriously and realized whatever happens, it was meant to happen, and what's meant for me will never pass me by. So I kind of just kept applying, and then stumbled across Pathways final webinar of what was available, and then luckily enough I landed a role here. So yeah.
I do think that's so important, actually, what you just said about there's such a misconception that you need to have everything sorted, and you said a gap year can be such a negative thing, but I actually know so many people who've really benefited from a gap year, because it actually gives you time to really reflect on what you want. You gain additional skills, and I guess we're going to go into that in a minute, but I really liked what you said. There's so much pressure, I think, on young people to be you have to know everything now.
You don't.
It's such a big decision. So we'll think about when you were applying for apprenticeships and you sort of
did explain that, you didn't do enough research. How did you find the process of like what support was available, what you could have done more with, like what would have been helpful?
I was very late, and I kind of just thought to myself, but yeah, I was very late to the process.
What is late, do you think?
In terms of like a lot of the applications for like work experience, or like, let's say like anything to do with like getting an apprenticeship in certain sectors, I was behind because everything, when I started applying, it was like October. And necessarily, if you think about apprenticeships, a lot of them start opening September, bang on, especially finance roles, guys. Finance opens in like September times, and then applications open around that same time as well. And then also had to do like my A-level revision. And as someone who wasn't like the top grade for A-levels, I had to put my focus into that as well. So finding whether it was like insight days or like apprenticeships or anything that was relatively open, everybody already had them. And it was like all the spaces that I kind of had was gone. So I kind of had to rely on what my school was giving me. So I managed to land a work experience internship thing during summer of year 13, which was good. But I wish I did a little bit more. But other than that, if you start earlier, the easier it is for you to like actually get something.
Yeah. And I think actually there's nothing stopping you in year 12 researching. And like you said, leaving it, because it depends on the sector you're going into, doesn't it? Like some of them open in September, so it is all about your research. And like you said, you're doing your A-levels. It's a lot to be doing your A-levels and applying for apprenticeships and considering uni. Set yourself up for success by doing it a little bit earlier.
If I could go back in time, I think year 12 was where I would have set myself up for apprenticeship as a whole. Whether that's like doing work experience in summer after I finished my A-levels, or just applying for apprenticeship in general, at least knowing like, okay, cool, when October starts, that's when all of like the real estate ones are opening, or like in December, that's when all of like the engineering ones have opened. Like knowing the deadlines for things beforehand is something I would have done before.
Yeah, but I guess it is information shared and knowing where to find it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that helps.
Which is why people need to go to these events, because they will tell you.
Exactly, absolutely. So yeah, obviously things change. You're applying for apprenticeships, and then obviously you're working with us, which is really cool. And obviously that's, again, like you were saying earlier, this doesn't mean you're not going to do an apprenticeship. You can apply later. You don't have to be 18.
Yeah.
But what is your role you're currently doing now?
Currently, I'm actually student support executive at Pathway. One thing I would say, this is, I'm going to ask the question, but at Pathway, like, you can talk to anybody and they will help you navigate your decision. Like, at first, I was kind of scared to talk to Chris about it. And then me and Chris, we were literally sitting here having a conversation. I kind of just told him, like, this is what I want to do, and I want your help with it. And he said, yeah, for sure. Like, he didn't even have an argument about it. Like, he was able to have the conversation and say, obviously, we still want you. This isn't us just like giving you away, but it's kind of a thing of, we want what you want. So whatever you want to do with your life, we're going to help you get there. And since then, I've kind of been able to do everything while getting that experience. So that's one thing I would say.
Well, that's really good. I think that's the key thing you said. It's not a wasted year.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for the apprenticeship, you're now going to have a year's worth of experience, which is only going to enhance your application. So it's how you're using that time. Whether that's world experience as well, you're traveling and you're meeting new people, that's still experience. You're working for the year and gaining that experience. So when we're thinking about your role now, what does your role involve?
I actually do a lot. So currently my main thing is like doing the mentoring calls with students, whether that's with United Utilities, KPMG, like PwC, so basically the big four and many more. I get to give the first-hand insight of students, like, this is what you need to do to be able to get that apprenticeship. And luckily for me, I've been able to mentor students and I have actually gotten apprenticeships. And I think that's my biggest accomplishment working here so far. But then I've also been able to come up with my own ideas and kind of put that forward. So like currently we're setting up the Pathway community for WhatsApp. And then I also go to a lot of events. So basically, stuff I didn't get to do in year 13, I'm doing it now.
Okay, so we want to take a brief interlude to highlight one employer partner who we are working with at the moment, especially with National Apprenticeship Week coming up, and that is BAE Systems, because their early careers offer is genuinely extraordinary. Their message is very much about starting something extraordinary and finding your purpose, whether that's working across air, land, sea, cyber, or helping to protect people and national security.
And for students, especially, it's that earn while you learn element. As an apprentice at BAE Systems, you're not just training, you're playing a meaningful role in shaping a safer, more secure future right from day one.
What's also important for teachers and career leaders to know is how broad the opportunities are. So apprenticeships span intermediate, advanced, higher and degree level, and they're not limited to engineering. There are pathways in manufacturing, technology, cyber, business, finance and project management as well.
And geographically, the roles are right across the UK. So you've got opportunities in the south, in Cowes and Portsmouth, all the way up right to the north in Barrow and Glasgow. So students don't always have to move far from home to access these careers. So if you're supporting students who are interested in apprenticeships or early careers, BAE Systems is definitely one of those employers worth exploring and sharing, especially for students who might not yet realise just how many different routes are available to them.
It's quite a brave thing, I think, to decide, I'm going to do a gap year. And as you say, like your thought process has changed from when you started at Pathway to what you want to do after working here. What about your friends then when they were leaving school? Were they on the same path as you, or were they thinking more university?
It was a mix, but majority of them did go to uni. Some actually did have an apprenticeship offer, but dropped it to go to uni because they wanted that university lifestyle. And then I do have like a friend who's doing uni but wants to do an apprenticeship, so he's like navigating both worlds. And at first, and still till this day, I still get a little bit jealous, but not because that they're in uni, guys, not that. Simply because they live alone. But other than that, university isn't a bad thing. I'll never discourage anybody from doing it. But understanding the fact that when they finish uni, they have to now apply for graduate roles or like find a job after is something that that doesn't sit right with me personally, because it's like I'm already doing everything that they're doing and saving myself the stress of having to like now put myself in a situation where like I'm now in my last year of university. What do I do now? Like I don't know what to do, because with them they actually don't know what to do after. Nobody really explains to university students that you have to apply for internships, you have to apply for work experience, you have to apply for graduate roles when you finish or before you even finish. So that's what I think in terms of like that whole concept.
I think that's really, like you said, it's you personally, because like we were saying earlier about our journeys, I went to uni and I absolutely loved it. It was the best decision for me moving away, because yes, you do live alone. I know that I do understand the jealousy, but it's not the same as like living independently. Like student houses are interesting places, but like I went to uni, it was the best decision for me at the time, and also apprenticeships weren't so much of a thing. Like 15 years ago. But my sister, so I'm one of three, my sister just below me, she's like 3 years younger than me, she went to uni, did not enjoy it at all. Like she made friends there, but it wasn't for her.
Personal preference.
Exactly. And I think it is just all about, it's okay to try something, not love it, and try something else, but it is very personal to you. So I always think there's a lot of pressure sometimes, I think, to do what everyone else is doing, and I just don't always think it works out that way.
I guess on pressure, like, did you feel any pressure because all your friends were going to uni?
Not necessarily because my friends were going to uni, because of schools. Like at my school, I remember I was not going to apply to uni at all. And then I remember the head of sixth form at the time kind of just like said, you have to sit down and do your personal statement. You have to submit it now. You have to make your decision. And it was like a lot of it was, my year 13 was dependent on whether I went to university or whether if I took an apprenticeship. So that pressure was a lot, because I was also juggling A-levels, and at that moment was just like, I don't care about uni right now. I'm just trying to figure out how I can get at least a pass grade for English. So that pressure was something I did not like, and I don't think a lot of students like it. But yeah, they don't talk about gap years enough. So.
No, because I just think you are still a kid, and you don't feel like it when you're 18, because it's like adulthood, but apparently your brain doesn't stop growing until you're 32. So I'm going to say that. So, there's a lot to consider. I was going to say to you, actually, funnily enough, like when you're thinking about different people's journeys and things like that, like I had a friend who was going to go to uni, same uni as me, didn't get in. There's a lot of pressure. She really struggled with it. Her role, she's also a teacher. Obviously, I was a teacher, but she still was able to be a teacher. It just looked different, like how she got there. So there's lots of options, I guess, for different people, isn't there? So we're thinking about your experience this year, because you have done so much. When you were saying earlier, like, I've done this. You've only been here since the end of August, and it's January, and we forget that. So we're very lucky to have you. How do you feel this experience within being like student support executive has helped you or will benefit you going forward?
My first project was actually the Home Building Federation, so like bringing women into like that sector of like construction. And I think that was my favorite journey, even though it was stressful because it was like such a big thing at the time. I enjoyed every minute of it because I got to learn a bit more about like what it means to actually take on responsibility. Once they've given you the task, you have to kind of do it by yourself. Obviously, you can still ask for help. Like, that's not the problem, but you now have a ownership of like something that's all you necessarily. And I think for me, that was my favorite moment because it was like I got to learn that even though something is new, it doesn't mean it's necessarily hard. You just have to like learn how to go about it, and then after a while, it becomes easier. What was the question again? I
I
forgot.
was saying about how this experience will have benefited you going forward. So you've mentioned about obviously like responsibility.
Yeah.
Anything else you would take from it?
The fact that you have to be very organized. Like I'm already organized, but I now have to kind of force myself to like going from like 9 to 3 to 9 to 5. And those extra 2 hours, they seem very small, but they do take a lot of like your day. So you have to like navigate having to have a personal life outside of it, but then also realize when you're in work, kind of just put your focus on that and simply get it done. Like once you get that work done for that week or even that day, you can enjoy the rest of your weekend and still have that university life outside of it. But it also allows me to kind of understand that when I now move on to whatever's next, I understand that this is my responsibility. Getting to work on time, even before that, is something you have to prioritize. Like you have to sacrifice sleep a little bit, but you also learn as you go. But yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fun, yeah, isn't it? Sometimes you're not prepared for like, it's such a culture shock to be like, oh my God, I'm in work.
Yeah, it's quite a big transition, isn't it, from school straight into work?
Yeah, exactly. Like your first full-time proper job in work. But we work from home a couple of days. I guess that's a nice benefit.
That's a huge benefit.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, how would you say it's helped you then figure out with what you want to do next?
To be honest, I've kind of learned everything because of what I do and who I work with. I've learned all of like the different sectors, and I've also like met loads of people that we don't even work with, but we work closely with. So I've kind of learned like all of their journeys, and then spoke to students who were also like were in the same shoe as me, and it kind of just makes me reflect every single day. Like, what do I want to do next? What's my next steps, and how am I gonna get there? And it's just a thing about communicating it with my manager, whoever it is, even if it's just like Mel, for example, who's my like line manager. Communicating that with her has allowed me to understand that I don't have to take on everything, and I am still young, and they understand that, so they don't put too much pressure on me. Like anytime they can see I'm stressed, they'll ask me, "Oh, do you need help with this?" Like Gemma does that a lot because she sits right next to me, but it does help. It goes a long way.
Oh no, that's really nice. I think that's the thing a lot of people worried about is like you're going to go straight into a job and there's not going to be support, and obviously like not to blow our own trumpet, but I think working with young people, it is so important to know that they can also ask for help and also to recognise like this might be somebody's first full-time job. It's really lovely that you think that. I think, yeah, as well, so we'll kind of finish on this bit. What advice would you give, I guess, can we ask what advice would you give teachers to support young people first? What could they give them? And then we might ask about what advice would you give young people as well?
Number one, do not push university onto them. If they express that they want to do either a gap year or they want to do an apprenticeship, be open to discussing it. Like actually talk to them and be like, okay, what is it that you want to do? What sector do you want to go into? And then find links to that company. If you have any, like my teacher personally from sixth form, I was able to talk to him and I was like, I want to do real estate. Like, can you help me get there? And luckily enough, somebody before me that was like in the year below me, well, the year above me, did like a work experience. And then now she does like the real estate stuff. So I was able to get onto that work experience program. But then I would also kind of say, understand that everybody's journey is different and you can't necessarily have assemblies where it's just like go to university or simply do this, do that. Try and figure out ways that you can help a student like go different. And there will always be a student that's not going to talk or that's not going to express their feelings on something. They're probably the student that's going to go way further than the ones that you're forcing to go to university and not enjoy it. So that's one thing I would say for teachers.
Yeah, what about for students? What advice would you give them?
If you're in year 12, start now.
Good advice, yeah. And what about if there is a student who may be in a similar position to you last year? What would you wish you would have told yourself last year?
Do your research. Simple as do your research and get as much support as possible. At first, because I remember I was in a similar situation, like pathway did offer mentoring, but I didn't take it as seriously as I should have, which I really do regret. But honestly, if you know there's somebody that's going to support you in any way possible with an apprenticeship, ask for that help over and over. Even if it's repetitive, they will help you, and it allows you to understand, like, when you now get to the next stage of an application process, because the first stage is pretty much easy, and then when you now get to the second stage, which is like the online assessments, because you're not asking for help or understanding what actually the online assessment is, what actually the interview is, what the assessment, like the in-person what do you call it again? The assessment centers. Yeah, those things. If you don't know what they are, you're preparing yourself for failure. Like, there was a line that my teacher in secondary school always said. I forgot how to say it, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Prepare to fail, something like that. But yeah, around those lines, if you don't prepare yourself for success, then you're automatically gonna fail. Like, you're not doing enough. That's one thing I would say definitely. Just prepare, do all the research you can. Everything is online. Everything is online, regardless. Even ChatGPT will be able to tell you that this is what you need to do to get to where you need to be. So literally just research, take advantage of everything you have around you and all the support systems, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And would you say to yourself, like, it'll be fine, you'll be okay?
You will be okay. Yeah. Regardless if you get that apprenticeship, if you take a gap year, you'll probably enjoy your gap year a lot more than you thought you would.
Love that.
So don't disregard it or don't push it to the back burner. Gap years are actually worth it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very insightful. Fantastic.
So yeah, great advice there from Ramatulai, and hopefully you found that really insightful and you can take on her advice.
Yeah, it's always lovely to get to hear kind of her perspective on things. And like she said, fail to prepare, prepare to fail, or some sort of words a bit like that. But we hope you really enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.